Hey everybody, this is a Sabre Limited Expert Series. Today we're going to look at how you should select your ERP partner. All right, let's get right into it. How do I pick an ERP implementer, ERP partner, ERP trainer? This is a Sabre Limited Expert Series, and I'm Rob Jolliffe. I'm going to be your presenter today. I am an expert in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. I've been an ERP implementation consultant for probably 25 years now. I am the owner of Sabre Limited. A couple of assumptions I usually make on my videos are that you are a manufacturing company, which I'm going to say is not necessarily the case today. This video is more generic and it could be any kind of industry. But you are probably a small and medium enterprise business. You're not looking at a large ERP system that's $1 million plus ERP system, or maybe 5 million plus. You're looking at an ERP system that's in the lower range, in hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even a little bit less than that. If you want to talk to me and you'd like to leave me some feedback or ask a question, I'd love to hear from you. I have put my calendar link into the description. You can book a meeting with me and have a conversation. Please put a note in with whatever your question or topic you want to talk about is. That gives me the opportunity to be prepared and do some research before we start so that I can be ready to have a proper conversation with you. Okay, so this is how do I pick an ERP implementation partner, or how do I pick an ERP trainer, how do I pick an ERP consultant, ERP VAR, etc. There's lots of different terms that are used, but basically what we're talking about is if you've selected your ERP, maybe the ERP comes with the implementer. Like there's some companies where they sell the ERP and they implement it themselves. But for a lot of ERP systems like NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, SAP, you often work through a partner channel who are experts at implementation, and there are many of those. I have a personal bias about this, so because I've focused my ERP practice on a specific industry vertical, and you're going to see why that's a bias in a few minutes. So take what I'm saying with a bit of a grain of salt, because if you heard the same message from a partner who is more of a generalist, they may have a completely different approach or tact on this. Okay. So essentially, there are two types of ERP partner that exist in the world. One type, which we'll go through, are generalists, and they specialize in many industries. You can kind of tell a generalist because their website will say that they're experts in, and then a big list of industries that are really kind of unrelated to each other. Like, what does manufacturing have to do with government or not-for-profit or healthcare? So I would say that whenever you're looking at a generalist website, even if they say they have specialties, they have expertise, if they are servicing many, many different industries that are not really related to each other, I would describe them as a generalist. And it's really important to understand that within generalists, the sales teams are generalists, usually. The reason that they sell to such a broad audience and they have so many specializations is because the sales department is outselling. Now, they may have individuals who are really good in a vertical who are in the sales department, but the sales department as a whole, the organization as a whole, they really don't care who they sell to. They'll sell to whoever walks through the door. Now, the assumption that most customers make, therefore, is that if you're experts in all these areas, each industry has a team. There's a team of people for manufacturing, there's a team for healthcare, there's a team for distribution. In a really, really large generalist who sells 1,000 deals a year, that could be true, but there aren't any of those, especially not in the small business market, because the mid-market ERPs don't sell that many ERPs, so they can't be 1,000 a year. So what ends up happening, and I know a lot of these partners, I deal with them all the time. I speak at partner conferences, particularly in the Microsoft Dynamics space. I know them. They don't have a level load of work in every industry. So by level loading, anybody in manufacturing would understand what that means. But it just basically means that you don't get gluts of work in one area and droughts of work in the other area. Well, they don't have that. They have like highs and lows. They could have a situation where they have no active manufacturing projects for a few months because just for whatever reason they're not closing, but they have a bunch of government healthcare projects. Or they They could have a run of distribution projects, but no government projects for a period of time. And therefore the staff don't specialize. It would be too costly. You can't bench these staff members because they're paid very well, much, much higher than line workers in most businesses. And a lot of them are CPAs because accounting is the one sort of central thing that they all do. The other thing to note on is that they rely on you to do all the business analysis of your business because of that, because their staff jump from different industry to different industry. They have a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of expertise, but the chances of them having seen your industry recently enough that it's fresh in their mind is a little bit low. Now, vertical specialists are kind of the opposite. Vertical partners usually focus on one or two verticals at the most. At Sabre Limited, we focus on exclusively the manufacturing vertical, and there are sub-verticals in that, but that's different. So you might find a company that are experts in oil field management. That's their vertical. That's all they do. Could be they're in mining and oil field management, maybe, which would be kind of applicable or appropriate because there's sort of a cross-contamination between those two types of verticals. You could have a company expert in healthcare with a specialization in dental. There aren't as many of these partners in the market, partially because I think once there's 2 or 3 partners in a particular vertical, and I would say there's probably about 20 main industry verticals, maybe 15. Once there's 2 or 3 partners in that vertical, they tend to crowd each other out. They get, there's not enough room for them. The other thing that you're going to know is that they are going to know, and you are going to know, that all their sales are in that industry. If their advertising, if their marketing, if their website is exclusively dedicated to that one industry, they're probably not taking any jobs outside of that industry focus. And so each team member of that company is going to be super experienced in the industry than any generalist customer, any generalist partner's employees can be. Because the generalist partner is moving their employees around between projects based on the load of work. So yeah, if you have a generalist partner and they have a lot of manufacturing business because they've got a good sales rep and that sales rep's been selling a lot of manufacturing, they may have 1 or 2 employees who've seen a few manufacturing projects. But again, they're moving them around between all of their projects. So they could have the team member who's doing the supply chain part, the purchasing and sales for the last manufacturing job, had to go and work on a distribution or on a healthcare implementation, and another supply chain expert came in on the next manufacturing job. There's just too many consultants, and based on vacations and things like that, you just could get a mix. So when you have a vertical focused partner who isn't doing that, by the way, because in the vertical focused, their consultants are constantly doing the same vertical over and over and over again, you can expect that vertical partner to collaborate with you on the business analysis. Now, okay, what the heck is business analysis and why do I need it? Business analysis is a fitting of business processes to technology. It basically has to do with the change management, and it has to do with you will have to change when you're implementing a new ERP. You're going to have to change some of your business processes if you want new features. If you are going from an ERP system to a new ERP system exclusively because you had a technology problem, like this ERP system is running on DOS computers, we can't even get them anymore, so we need to upgrade to a cloud ERP. Okay, that happens. It's pretty rare. Even if it goes from a Windows ERP system that the company's gone out of business to a new ERP system with a newer company. But I don't want to change anything. I want everything to work the same way. It happens. It's rare. There isn't a lot of business analysis required in that case. More often, the business wants to make things better. You're getting a new ERP system because you want to improve some part of your process that isn't working. So generalists don't provide this. They expect you to have that because they are not, used to working with small businesses that don't have IT departments. Generalists are selling, and they're mostly going after big ERP sales as well. So if you're looking at a $150,000 deal with a generalist, that's probably a small project for them. They're probably used to $1 million projects, and they're working with these large companies. And large companies usually do have a business analyst or multiple business analysts. They have an IT department. They have a process improvement department. Small businesses don't. Like the kinds of small businesses that Sabre deals with, we are often going into clients that are not big enough to have developed a full process improvement, lean IT department that's all about managing and mapping processes. You might have some engineers within the organization, you might have a few managers kind of doing this part-time. They're trying to document the processes and the systems so that they understand them. But they're not full-time. That's not their full-time job to do that business analysis. So when we compare the two partners and we go back and we just sort of look at them side by side, the generic partner is going to be really great at creating these complex project plans because they do it all the time. They're going into different kinds of clients and they don't know exactly what they're going to get when they get there. So they're really good at documenting and creating project plans. Whereas vertical partners probably already have a project plan that they've created that they found works really well. And what they do is they make modifications to that standard project plan rather than creating a whole new one. The generic partner is going to really spend a lot of time documenting because they're not that familiar with your business. And they're worried that there are things in your vertical that they don't understand that they're going to miss. And they're therefore going to spend a lot of time documenting it to make sure that they don't miss anything. The vertical partner is going to be more focused on looking for the weird things that you do. Everybody does some stuff that's a little different than everybody else. The vertical partner is going to be able to go through a checklist of stuff they expect to see and check off, yeah, I'm seeing that that's how you do purchasing. Oh, you buy from Asia. Okay, so you're taking possession in Shanghai and it has to be shipped on a transportation container and that needs to be tracked. Okay, let's go through. And they have this list that they're expecting to go through, whereas the generic partner doesn't. The generic partner is kind of, they're doing it fresh. It's the first time in a while that they've done this type of project. The generic partner will actually spend a fair amount of time of the project learning about your industry. You're going to be teaching them. You're not going to be learning as much about the ERP system from them as you are going to be teaching, especially in the beginning, teaching them about your industry because they don't know it. The vertical partner is going to be spending more time learning about your business. And your business is a version of using your industry. It's a variation of what your general industry does, but it isn't. The uniqueness of your business is more important than the industry knowledge to a vertical partner because they already have the industry knowledge. The generic partner is going to count on your team to know those best practices for your industry, and that gets back to that business analysis thing I was talking about before. Generic partners need you to know your industry to be able to teach them and to understand the best practices so that you are guiding them as to what the best practices are. They're going to eventually show you how to use the ERP. The vertical partner should be bringing best practices forward. They actually know your industry, and having learned your business, they're going to make those recommendations based on what they know your business does. So in the industry, there might be 3 ways to do things. Best practices are any of those 3 ways, but it depends on the business situation. They're going to recommend that for your business because they know those best practices. The generic partner, and this is a big strength of theirs, are really strong in all areas of the ERP. So this is when you get into larger and larger projects with more and more complexities within the customer. They start to work out to be better because all of those benefits of a vertical partner, they start to evaporate a bit when the company's complexity starts to cross industries. So if you have a business that does both, let's say you have a service element to your business, a distribution element to your business, a manufacturing element to your business, and a financial services element. You're a pretty big company. You've got your own leasing organization and you lease the equipment that you build, which you then sell through your distribution channel, and you have a big service component. One vertical partner might not be able to handle that kind of complexity, but you're pretty big at that point. So when you're large enough, that means you probably have the business analysts. You probably have the in-house expertise and the knowledge of best practices. You really need somebody who is more generally knowledgeable about the ERP and is strong in all areas. And that's the generic partner. But when you're smaller, and you don't need that because you are more single-minded in what you do as a business, that vertical partner is going to be an expert in what you do. They're not just going to be strong. They're going to be experts. Now, they could actually be weak in some of the other areas. Sabre, for instance, would be awful if we ended up with a manufacturing company had a leasing division and did their own leasing and had to manage all of the investments they have to do or hold a certain amount of cash. And I don't even know what a financial services business would need from that point of view. Our team would be bad at that, but we just don't run into it because our customers are manufacturing and most of them don't do that. The generic partner, therefore, is just going to be more well-rounded, and the vertical partner is more single-minded and focused on one thing. So I'm going to argue which is better. So there is it depends to the which is better. It does depend on how big you are as a company and how complex you are. But I began this by saying I'm assuming you're looking at a mid-market ERP. You're looking at a small implementation, maybe 100,000, maybe 200,000, maybe 300,000. But you're not 5 million. You're not $2 million and doing an ERP implementation. In my opinion, if you're down in that space, the vertical focus partner is definitely going to be better for you. Now, that's an if, of course. Their business fits your vertical. So that industry partner's vertical focus is your vertical. Occasionally, it happens that we see a vertical focus partner try and step out of their vertical, and then that is a problem. But if you're in the same vertical, then you're good. Now, benefits, they're going to charge less for project management, discovery, and planning. We do fixed fees because we know about how much all of this is going to be before we even start. We know who we're selling to because we're very narrow focusing on our marketing, and the people who are coming to us are in that space that we're selling to. So we don't need to do a ton of project management, discovery, and planning because of it. We have really expert level experience in the areas that our customers need. And vertical focus partners do that. They have developed an expertise in the areas that customers need. They are therefore much less likely to have a challenge where you are asking them, well, how do I do this? And the consultant says, well, I have to go back and study that. That'll always happen. These systems are changing all the time, but it's much less likely. Now, one thing to note, I have heard this a few times, but I need accounting. Just because you're good at oil field service or you're good at dentists, I need accounting. My business is built on accounting. All ERP customers need accounting. All ERP partners are strong in core accounting, but the accounting that fits that business, a manufacturing company, a distribution company, a number of other companies need perpetual inventory. Perpetual inventory in and of itself has a type of accounting that goes with it. I have run into many generic partners where their accounting skills in the perpetual inventory space are weaker than our accounting skills in the perpetual inventory space because we deal with it all the time and they don't. Now, one of the other things about the vertical partner is they can consult with you on the best way to use the system for your business. So that best practice is consultation. Not just how the system works. It's not like a lot of the other partners will be focused on this is what the system can do. Click here and it does that. A vertical focus partner will say, this is what the system could do. You should use it in this case, but not that case. So do you do this? No? Okay, let's not do it then because it's going to be too much work. Whereas the generic partner knows what it does, but doesn't always know exactly where it fits the best. Okay, just a little bit of a warning about being too specific in searching for that vertical partner. I just want to make sure that you understand this. I ran into an engineer-to-order company that made pressure vessels recently. And engineer-to-order is a sub-vertical of manufacturing. So manufacturing is the core vertical. Engineer-to-order is the sub-vertical. Their industry vertical is not pressure vessel manufacturing. That's a product. The ETO is the vertical. Pressure vessel manufacturing is a product. So ERP systems are not that specific. Usually, I put usually in brackets. You get things like cannabis, for instance, is a sub-vertical. It's a product, and there are ERP systems specifically to dealing with that. But I'd argue that it's a very large sub-vertical that has a lot of companies in that space, and they need really specific government regulation that's being imposed on them. Pressure vessels just aren't that special. Looking for someone with a specific vertical in your product is it's not logical. It does not make sense. Even with cannabis, it doesn't make sense because you got the people with the gummies and the people with the flour and the people with the extracts and all that. It's just one general vertical. If somebody said, well, if you don't know flour, I'm not interested in dealing with you, that wouldn't make sense. To give you another example, process manufacturing is a vertical, nutraceuticals is a subvertical of that vertical, and men's vitamins is a product. It's not a vertical under nutraceuticals. You really also, I would say, this is something else that I notice is companies come to us and say, well, did you do another bicycle manufacturer? We're a bicycle manufacturer. Have you done bicycle manufacturing before? And sometimes I say, how many bicycle manufacturers are there in North America? Oh, there's 15. All right. So 1.5 of them every year will get a new ERP system. And there's 1,000 companies trying to get their business. Why do you think we would be the one in 1,000 that got that business? It's just very unlikely. In some verticals, there's just not enough competitors of yours to have a volume that would allow anybody else to have done it. And if they did do it, what's the value? I mean, just because they did your competitor, first of all, like I'd be worried about that anyway, because it's possible that they are still in communication with the competitor. And the second thing, if it's a very, very small vertical, and the second thing is, do you really want to do it exactly the way the other people did it? Maybe they did a terrible job. You have no idea how good a job somebody did just because they did another company that sells the same kind of product that you did. So are there really enough of these competitors? Is there enough space in your product market that it would make sense that there's going to be somebody out there that's done 20 of your product market? Because doing one, I do not think is of a high value unless you did it extremely recently and it's super fresh in your mind. All right. I hope that video was really helpful for people. I know that I have a bias towards choosing a vertical focused partner. I do think the smaller your business is, the more logical that is. The bigger your business is, the more logical it is to look at the generic partners. If you enjoyed this video and think this would be helpful for other people, please subscribe and follow our channel. The more subscribers we have, the more YouTube promotes our videos, and the more likely it is somebody else will find this video. If you want to reach out to us, aside from booking a meeting with my meeting link that's in the description below, you can also find these links in the description below. We are Sabre Limited. You can reach us at www.sabrelimited.com. You can email me at sales@sabrelimited.com, and you can also reach me on LinkedIn at linkedin.in/Rob Jolliffe. Thanks very much for watching. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.